Hey folks, MasakoX here, and oh boy do I love this time of year! April Fools! For those of you new to the channel, you might be confused, but first of all, I would like to say welcome to you, and thank you for finding me and possibly subscribing and liking the video. That would be great. And then I'd also like to explain the purpose of these videos. Every April 1st for the last few years, my team and I come up with a story, which is absolutely not like the other ones. So if you're going to be going into this and going like, Masako, this would never happen in a series. What you're making is fan fiction. How dare you defy conformity? Well, my response to you is that's the point. I know. We can make something truly compelling, weird, bonkers, downright surreal, something that you would not expect. So this year, we got inspiration from the likes of Christian Ebling from our roundtable live streams concerning Caulifla and Gohan and whether they might swap places or not. And that's a brilliant idea. And it's something to do with the Universe 6 Saiyans, so yeah, we need more of them. This is going to be a doozy and I can't wait for this to get going. But for now, we need to get ourselves to that point in the story. And that requires, as usual, for us to set the scene. So sit back, relax, and get your minds primed for some April Fool whatevery. Let's begin. In this alternate Dragon Ball reality, a peculiar and universal anomaly occurred. Thanks to chemical chance and the powers that be up there in the skies of the Dragon World, which as we know like to work in odd and mysterious ways that are beyond our rational thought, or the convenience of writers, the souls of two people were swapped. Instead of winding up in Universe 6, Caulifla's essence found its way to Universe 7, and into the stomach of an unsuspecting Chi-Chi. Instead of bringing Gohan into the world, Son Goku and Chi-Chi had a baby girl, which the cosmos compelled the couple to name Caulifla. Chi-Chi wasn't expecting to name her girl after a vegetable, since Saiyans were not known yet to either her or even Goku, but there was something about the moniker in mind which just felt right bizarrely, you could say. And thusly, the baby named Caulifla was taken into their lives, and they thought that they would be happy together as a family forever. Well, already, if you're a Chi-Chi fan and you know how Caulifla operates in Universe 6, you're going to be in for a bad time. Why don't you put on the full story Chi-Chi Z-Fighter What If in a tab ready for you to be comforted, yeah? Caulifla is nothing like Gohan. Obviously. Sure, she and him are dab hands when it comes to martial arts and the potential to become something more with their lives, but could you get the girl to read a book willingly or do her homework? Nope. Nothing doing, Chi-Chi. From an early age, Chi-Chi could sense that her daughter was not going to be a spirit that liked to follow convention or would want to be a stay-at-home kind of person. Even though Caulifla here is half Saiyan, instead of being the full Saiyan that she is in her original guise, this won't really matter too much to the overall progression of her plot going forward, given that her essence is being transported here from Universe 6 through phenomenal cosmic powers. It's probably best to not question it because remember, this is an April Fool what if. We can basically do what we want. And I think you want this. What all of this means is that Caulifla was a whirling dervish of a child, completely single-minded, all of which Goku took to like a Krillin to water. He loved it. What resulted from this change was that Goku here was quite the attentive father figure and more than happy to spend time with his daughter. He was able to handle her vibrant personality and she responded in kind. The pair of them got on splendidly. Due to the two of them getting on so very well in the original story, I feel that that relationship would be just as strong here in this timeline, only with the change that instead of the dynamic of them being strangers but like-minded, they're father and daughter. But Chi-Chi, she was left on the periphery. She couldn't even get away in edgeways with her when she became a toddler. She hated playing by the rules Caulifla. She didn't want to play with girls' toys, and she would always find something to rebel against, buck the trend, do the opposite. She also liked showing more skin than Chi-Chi thought was proper for a girl. Many times, when Goku and Chi-Chi were taking stock of what happened during the day, she would often lament at, Oh, Caulifla was becoming a delinquent at such an early age. She wasn't even 4 yet and being so defiant. But then Goku pointed out on the skin matter that Chi-Chi was just as revealing when, she was young and they'd met all those years ago. Probably even more so. That shut her up. Oh, the hypocrisy was strong with this one. What also didn't help matters here was that Chi-Chi, as you know all too well, wasn't exactly the best when it came to being accommodating with such matters. She would try to foist these ideals upon her child, which obviously would be rebuffed. And she didn't want Gohan to become a fighter in the original story, Chi-Chi, and here, she would definitely not want that situation to befall her firstborn daughter. That's just not what girls do! Hypocrisy much? The only saving grace for her was that Caulifla could be incredibly charming, providing she was in the mood. When Caulifla was happy, she was extremely enthusiastic, playful, and got on well with other toddlers. Until they stole her toys. She was also a very cute baby and young one, and Ox King and her would always be playing. And despite Ox feeling sorry for Chi-Chi not getting along with her daughter, the main thing that Ox wanted to see was that any grandchild of his was happy, healthy, and full of life, to which Caulifla was. Yeah, Ox and Caulifla were pretty close. The question is though, would Chi-Chi ultimately put up with this? Well, she kinda had to. But the major plus was that, like I mentioned before, Goku was much more hands-on here in this timeline than in the original, so she did have help. He was more willing to take her out for adventures and keep close watch on her, and that of course meant, when she turned about the age of 3, she would do some light exercises with her father, getting ready to fight and become a fighter and martial artist, which is what she responded well to, and had the knack for. Chi-Chi had to give up her dreams of having an honor roll child, at least for now. Ultimately, she had to accept what Ox had told her, that her offspring were in good spirits, they were safe, and they were attentive. Reluctantly, Chi-Chi has to play along, playing the role of being the mother, with Goku acting as a rather good paternal figure here. All was at peace. That is until Raditz shows up. So when Raditz gets to Earth, the group are at Kame House, introducing the young Caulifla to them, who are utterly floored that Goku and Chi-Chi had a kid. Well, that is except for Krillin. Krillin had been roped in by Chi-Chi to help Goku keep the young girl in check, and he actually found her very adorable and engaging, but he did vow to keep their secret from the others, and so he played dumb by going, "What? Goku? You had a kid? I did not see that coming!" As Goku was explaining this to the others, Caulifla was busy playing on the shoreline with her shoes off and having a whale of a time just leaping around unsupervised. And Goku really wasn't that worried about her going off on her own. I mean, where was she gonna go? It's an island. And she always came back and had a story to tell anyway. Whatever got in her way usually didn't harm her. And as a result, her power level was higher than Goku's was at her age. Around about 50. How was it that high? Well, it was because all she ever did was run around these days, exercise, and be active. But when Raditz arrived, everybody was distracted from Caulifla, and instead focused on the new arrival, and the news that he had brought with him, that he and Goku were Saiyans. Goku was an alien. This stunned everybody, even Caulifla. But instead of her being utterly terrified or completely unable to function, due to the stress and upheaval of this revelation, Caulifla was walking up to Raditz, giving him a rather quizzical look, like she was sizing him up. And him being 6'1", that's a lot of sizing up there. What are you? Caulifla's eyes looked deeply into Raditz's. Are you a spaceman? She said slowly, like she were probing him for information. Yes, I am. And judging from your looks and your tail, you must be Kakarot's kid. My niece. Her eyes lit up. Does that mean I'm a spaceman too? She found this really incredible news. She always knew she was different, and now she had the proof that she needed. It made sense. Everybody, though, was thrown by this reaction to a scary and intimidating alien who was here to take Goku away. They never expected Caulifla to be psyched. Even Raditz wasn't sure what to do, so he had to rely on his instincts and forced Goku into a decision. He grabbed Caulifla by the tail, which naturally knocked her out, and punched his brother in the stomach, taking his niece hostage. Goku had 24 hours to kill 100 people and then report to Raditz to get his daughter back, or else Raditz would blow up the planet! Yeah, right. Later, when Raditz arrived at his crashed pod, he let Caulifla go, and she slowly came to from having her tail pulled. She rubbed her butt and felt very sore there.
Ow! I didn't know that did that. Is that part of being a spaceman, Uncle Radish?
It's Raditz, and you should not be this forward with me. I'm incredibly powerful, and you should know better than to cross me. Didn't Kakarot teach you anything about respecting your elders?
Caulifla then laughed in response, which is not what Uncle Radish expected, throwing him for a loop again. He wasn't sure what to do now. This 4-year-old brat was not scared of him, but making fun of him. That was a nerve being not just touched, but brutally eviscerated.
You're funny,
she said with mirth.
This is not the time to be having fun. You are my prisoner, so act like one.
Caulifla blinked.
What's that mean?
She said with genuine confusion. Raditz had had enough. He was being undermined by a toddler. He walked up to her and was about to smack her into submission, but he couldn't do it. He gazed into her eyes once more, and a sudden pang of sadness and introspection overcame the Radish. There was something about her that resonated with him. She reminded Raditz of his mother. Of course, this was his niece, a granddaughter of Guinea. Clearly she had her eyes, and although her personality didn't match Caulifla's, she definitely had a resemblance going. Raditz put down his outstretched hand and chose to ignore her from then on, but as you might be able to guess, she's not going to ignore him or take this lying down. She keeps pestering Raditz, finding ways to chip away at his solid exterior. The illusion of him being a powerful and mighty Saiyan which struck fear into the hearts of all that crossed his path was being very much eroded by the second, and in its place was the true state of Raditz right now. He was a dog's body, a meek and sad excuse of a Saiyan, who did the odd jobs of his superiors. Caulifla was more of a Saiyan than he was. He felt so bad and had lost complete impetus in using her as bait. He couldn't go through with this. He no longer had the drive to force Kakarot to come with him. He'd been utterly humiliated. He kind of sort of wanted to leave right there and then, just leave the kid here and go, empty-handed, but what good would that do, really? Vegeta and Nappa would tear him to pieces, and Caulifla could sense that Raditz was feeling sad, and she asked him what was up.
What is your name, anyway? I didn't get it.
Caulifla,
she said with the utmost chirpiness.
Caulifla, huh? That's a good Saiyan name. At least Kakarot got something right in regards to his legacy without knowing. Listen, sorry for taking you away like that. I just wanted to get my brother to listen to me. He's missing out on something glorious, and I wanted to share it with him.
Caulifla listened intently and nodded.
Oh, you wanted to play with him.
Raditz looked up, bemused.
What? Play with him?
She nodded again.
Uh-huh. Uncle Radish is sad that Papa won't play with him. So you wanted to play with me? I'll play with you, Uncle Radish.
She beamed up like a Christmas tree. Raditz broke. The sight of Caulifla's happy face exactly looked like Guinea's. He wept, which only exacerbated the outpouring of emotion, and a tender pat of comfort from his niece.
Tell you what, kid. Uncle Radish needs some time to think. You stay here and count to 10, okay? Can you do that?
She pouted.
I'm not stupid. I can count.
Good. Do that.
She closed her eyes, thinking this was just a game of hide and seek, with Raditz immediately rushing over to his pod and about to leave, unable to follow through on his initial mission. That is until Piccolo showed up! Yes, instead of Piccolo going to help the others here and Goku this time around, he was actually more interested in the situation regarding Raditz and Caulifla. With her power more obvious than Gohan's was, Piccolo had been more attentive in observing the family and her growing up in the shadows. To him, this girl was remarkable, and could be something very handy if his plans to take over the world and get his own back against Goku came to fruition. He could tell she was a rebellious kid, and thusly could be very easily led away from the path of righteousness and do-goodery. And so Raditz and Piccolo locked eyes on one another for a second time. However, Piccolo could now see Raditz looking rather sad and far less imposing than the first time they had met.
What's going on? What are you doing?
Caulifla stopped counting and looked up. She instantly knew who this person was.
Pickle!
Piccolo stepped back.
What?
You're the Pickle Papa told me about! The angry pickle that tried to beat up Papa but failed!
She was so excited to meet him. Piccolo, though, was getting agitated, being an angry pickle. And this caused Raditz to step back from the pod and toward said pickle.
Don't bother trying to scare her, Green Man. She's unscarable. Look at me. She was not in the slightest bit afraid of me. The great Raditz!
I can see why she wouldn't be. Raditz clenched his fist.
That blasted Kakarot! This must be some sort of trick of his. He used his own daughter to try and undermine me, and then tried to get her back and take all the glory. I just know it.
Caulifla leapt up.
A trick? I love tricks! Shall we play one on Papa?
Both Piccolo and Raditz didn't expect that. To be fair, there was a lot today that neither of them had expected, but the girl continued.
I don't want to go back yet. I'm having so much fun here with Radish and Pickle. Why don't we play a prank on Papa, huh? He always likes my pranks.
Oh. Now this got the pair of them interested. Raditz slowly regained his bluster, whilst Piccolo had some kind of bargaining chip now as to try and compromise Goku, and then he could finally get his revenge. Maybe even more. The three of them got talking, and the plan was set. Raditz would pretend to be a really bad guy, like a real supervillain, with Caulifla locked in the pod as a prisoner. He would get Kakarot talking for a while before Piccolo would then leap in and give him a full Nelson and then shout, "Surprise!" Piccolo chose to admit the next part of his plan. As he got into position, he congratulated himself. Stupid runt. She has no idea what she's in store for. Raditz stood by the pod and was ready for when his brother arrived. When Goku landed, he had no idea that what he was getting into was a practical joke.
Either you join me, Kakarot, or I will take your daughter away from here, and you will never see her again!
Goku was far too focused on Raditz to notice that Piccolo was lying in wait, charging his attack. Mana. Goku knew that he was too weak to beat Raditz in direct confrontation, so he had to rely on something else. Quick wits, maybe even stoke Caulifla's guile to get her free, and at least stall for time until they can come up with a better plan and a means to fully stop Raditz. Where was Piccolo when you needed him? You would take that guy's help right now, and they were meant to be mortal enemies. Well, be careful what you wish for, Goku. Raditz primed the line.
Well, Kakarot. Looks like you found yourself to be in a pickle.
Piccolo leapt out of the bush and shouted,
"Special beam cannon fire!"
Raditz was not expecting that, though. That wasn't part of the plan. In seconds, the beam pierced Goku in the chest, and the Saiyan was dead before he even hit the ground. Caulifla was devastated. The door to the pod wasn't locked, and so she immediately got out and ran over to her papa, and realized that he had fallen into a sleep that he would never wake up from. She cried loudly, the loudest she had ever screeched. This was meant to be a prank, not a means to kill her own father. All she could do was sob and wail. Papa was her favorite person in the world, and now he was gone. Raditz and Piccolo looked at the motionless body of Goku. It felt terrible. Raditz hadn't wished to kill Kakarot, and Piccolo, he got his revenge and now felt hollow. The manner in which he had gotten the jump on Goku was far from satisfying, it turned out. And on top of that, felt awful, cowardly. No, this wasn't worth it, they both thought. To Caulifla, she had no idea of Piccolo's true intent. This was just to her a prank that went badly wrong. She wasn't angry or mad at anyone, but she felt that she was personally responsible. She was the one to come up with the idea, and now she was at fault. This is when Piccolo realizes something.
The Dragon Balls, they can bring Goku, your father, back to life.
Caulifla stared at Piccolo and nodded.
Dragon Balls.
The orange orbs that grant you wishes,
said Piccolo quietly. Caulifla meekly nodded, saying that those must be the things that Papa talked about in some of his stories. Piccolo then explains the plan to find the Dragon Balls and wish for Goku's return to make amends for that rather cowardly win. Piccolo would rather, on reflection, win against Goku in a proper duel. But then, Raditz flinches.
Damn it!
He slams his scouter down on the ground and smashes it. Raditz then told them that he forgot to turn off the scouter.
Was that a problem? More Saiyans are coming. Ones that are stronger than I.
Piccolo immediately looked shocked.
More Saiyans? You called for backup, you traitor! No, I didn't! With these scouters, we keep the airways open to share intel between one another. I forgot to mute the microphone, and so they will come. I know them. If they found out and heard about those Dragon Balls, my boss will want them.
Your boss?
Said Caulifla with mild consideration.
Yes, Vegeta. He'll stop at nothing to achieve his goal. We must make sure that that doesn't happen, or we'll have no hope in reviving Kakarot.
So it was decided then. Piccolo and Raditz would team up to prepare for the Saiyan arrival and also to ensure that the Dragon Balls would be kept safe. But then there was the situation regarding Caulifla. What do they do with her? Well, you'll have to find out next time, as that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. If you like this idea where Raditz and Piccolo teamed up, check out the classic Raditz story here, where their teamwork led to the Radish becoming a good boy. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!